feeling unable to cope due to an increase in mental health issues. With suicide rates continuing to rise, a recent survey suggests the number of those seeking help for suicidal thoughts has tripled since the start of lockdown. The most at risk are men aged 25 to 30.
What?
So where was you at your lowest point, like mentally? Where was you?
Yeah, it was quite a few years ago now. I think I was sat at home taking copious amounts of drugs. I think between about £400 or £500 a day. And I think, yeah, just causing arguments with people just so I can leave the house and go and buy more drugs. And I think just put me in a dark, dark place.
And did that cause you to do things that you wouldn't normally do, like to get the money, or was you working, or how was it being funded? Like, was you doing?
Your morals go out the window. When you have an addiction, you don't care. You don't care who you're gonna ruin. I was lying, cheating, begging, pleading, everything you can think of.
So it's like very selfish, very self-centered, just all about you, basically.
I think to an extent, I think a lot of people's troubles are all about me. Like whatever someone's suffering with, it is a very selfish thing. I think as soon as you then start going down the route of any sort of substance, alcohol, or any sort of addiction that gets you through, yeah, you become ultra selfish. And as long as you get your fix.
I mean, I had a problem with food and alcohol. And as long as I got my fix of alcohol and food, then nothing else really mattered. My kids even, it was as long as I got my fix of alcohol in the evening and my food, and I was okay, then nothing else really mattered. And that's the sad part of it. And the second you realise, I've got a problem, let's face this head on, is the only time that I think you find a resolution to it. So you definitely need to, open up to yourself and say, look, what is the actual problem? But also the problem is actually reaching out and getting help, and looking back at how you got, why you were so depressed, what was causing those issues, why did that onset of me needing to drink every day, what was the root cause of that issue? I mean, obviously, what was your root cause of you taking all the drugs? I mean, where did that come from?
I think it was just a multitude of different factors. Like, it's not. A lot of people ask, like, there must have been one thing or one event that triggered that reasoning behind it. And I personally don't think it was one thing. I think it was a multitude of different factors. My lifestyle, previous relationships. I finished a relationship. I came and then moved back to my parents, where I was then surrounding myself with the same people that I left to get away from. You then surround yourself, they're bad influences, you get into bad habits. And I think it's not just why you got into that situation. I think it's the people around you and the situation around you are a massive factor.
Yeah, 100%, definitely, because I've found myself being around people that just wanting to drink, and then makes you want to drink, and you find that they just call you up for a drink, not caring about whether my wife was sitting upstairs in the bedroom. I mean, that's the reality of it. She was sitting upstairs in the bedroom looking after my kids, and I was downstairs having a party. I was a bachelor down in one room, and she was a mother in the other. But I didn't care about that. That was just the norm. I'd order, get a few cases of bud, a few bottles of rum, take around all that. They'd be upstairs, I'd be downstairs, playing darts, just living a bachelor lifestyle.
Yeah, no, to be fair, that was exactly the same as me. My partner and my kids were upstairs, and I was downstairs doing drugs, drinking, and it was like a married bachelor lifestyle. And it was, even then, I was sitting there doing it, thinking to myself, do I really want to be doing this?
I think for me, obviously, the turning point for me was getting to 27 and a half stone, and then my son obviously seeing that there's a problem, which for a 7-year-old to see is quite remarkable, and for him to say to me, Dad, are you going to die? That was my turning point when I realised, Matt, what am I doing to myself? What the hell am I doing? Because I lost my dad when I was 11, when I lost my own dad, so I know what that feeling's like of losing a parent, and that was when I decided to change. What was your turning point? When did you decide that enough's enough?
I had a couple of turning points. It seems really weird, but when I was really, really bad, I went into rehab. I got chucked out of rehab because I was doing drugs in rehab. I think that was my initial turning point. I think the best thing to happen to me in my recovery was to get chucked out, because I think I would have just stayed there and not really tried to help myself. But I think admitting it, I think that was the big change, because I came out and I still lied to people. I I was still doing anything I could to get money to do drugs, including driving for drug dealers. Like, I was willing to put my freedom on the line just to do drugs. And then, the kind of next turning point, it was admitting it, saying, look, I am struggling. If I carry on, I'm going to die. And I went to my parents and I said, look, it's not getting me away from the drugs, because you can get the drugs anywhere. It's getting away from the people that can facilitate it. And literally, I moved to a whole new area. I had no access to any money. Like, my partner literally had access to just the accounts, nothing to do with me. And she did everything. Anything that needed to be paid for, she paid for it. And I think, if it wasn't for my wife, I would be dead right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, that's amazing, but it's crazy. Like, with these addictions nowadays, you find yourself, if you've got even like food addiction, alcohol addiction, gambling addiction, drug addiction, it's so easily available. Like, I mean, gambling's on every station, like radio wise, TV wise. You only got, most adverts in an evening you're going to get 4 gambling adverts out of like 5 in the evening. So people are struggling with that. Food, you got Just Eat adverts on every other one in between the gambling ones, and it's sponsoring everything nowadays. Can't get away from that. I mean, drugs, people, whenever you go out, they're on, they're just on hand. People, everyone knows someone.
You know someone, or you can see someone. Like, I think for me, being an addict, like, I'm not an ex-addict. I am an addict. I'm just an ex-drug user.
Yeah.
I think, I know when I'm out, I can see people. I've been in work situations where I've done talks for mental health, and I've said to the person running the event, like, I talk about drugs, and I know, not that I've seen them actually do it, but I can see by the way they act and the things that they're doing. I said, there are people in the room doing drugs tonight, and people don't believe you. I think because they've never done it before.
Oh, shit.
Whereas I can sit in a pub, and I can guarantee 9 times out of 10 I'm right that the person that I pointed out is doing drugs. And I think when people used to go in a pub 10, 15 years ago, it was a very secretive thing. Now you could walk up to someone who thinks doing it and go, do you know if you can get this, that and the other? And 9 times out of 10 you can.
No, that's it. That's what I think. Well, obviously mine was like food and alcohol addiction. But like I say, when there was a problem with the smoking, they got rid of all the adverts, they banned it on the radio, Formula One, they really cut down on it. You don't see adverts for it anywhere now. I don't understand why they're not doing the same with like the food and the gambling and that sort of stuff. I mean, I think it's too easily for people to get on that slippery slope. I mean, it's so simple now I was every night on Just Eat, and I would be ordering loads of food after I'd had a bottle of rum. I'm lucky for my son, like I've said in every other interview, I feel like I owe my life to my son. Because I know the way I was going, there's no way I was going to be alive in sort of 5 years from where I was for the drink and the food. I was just getting bigger and bigger. I was 27 stone too, and I was only getting bigger. He saved my life, which is, it's amazing. How did your kids play a part in yours?
It sounds really harsh. I think with an addiction, most of the time, other people aren't a consideration in your life. You don't care. Like, I've got now 3 beautiful daughters, and I would do anything for. But at the time, I was like, don't care. Especially my youngest, who at the time, it was the lead up. One of my worst periods was when my partner was pregnant. And then when my youngest daughter was only a few months old. It's the other people that point it out. Like, I've had some fantastic help from like my wife and my auntie, who rules with an iron fist most of the time, and she doesn't suffer fools gladly at all. They're the type of people that kind of sat me down and did the whole realisation thing. And I think they use all my grandparents have died, and a couple of them I messed over because of the drugs. I've stolen from grandparents, and they use that again. It was kind of emotional blackmail, but it really worked. Like, my auntie sat me down and goes, you've stolen off of this person, this person, this person. Like, imagine if your children did that to your parents or to you. And it was that kind of interrogation from my auntie that worked. And I think it was a combination of factors. There wasn't like for yourself, like your son saying, are you going to die, Daddy? I had a lot of things. And my eldest daughter, who's now 16, we talk about it now. And I say to her, like, I feel guilty because she's now got issues with trust and stuff like that because of the stuff I've done. So it's been a few years later for them to go, wow, that's what I've done. I think that's a good thing, though. Now you can sit back and look and go, I caused a lot of damage. That's what that lifestyle and my addiction was. I was like a tornado. I ripped through everything. I did not care about the damage I was causing until you sit back and go, oh.
Yeah. I mean, my wife's like, we got photos and stuff, and I look through old photos, and I think to myself, well, I'm not in hardly any photos. All the times that my wife's out with the kids and stuff like that, growing up, I wasn't with the kids. I would rather have stayed at home, had a drink, and so I missed out on all these times of kids growing up because I was selfish and I wanted to drink and I wanted just to do me and just basically eat and drink on my own or avoid the lads playing darts or whatever. That was just me, and I missed out on all these times of them growing up, and it's sad because you don't get that chance again. So that's why now you do feel guilty and you try and not make it up. But what would you say to someone that's in that situation now, that's struggling, hasn't quite admitted it, hasn't got a problem? What would you say to them to, try and get them to realise or to try and get help? Where can they go? Where can they turn to?
I think like you say, with addictions and stuff, it's very easily ready in front of you. And I think the same with help. I think with help, you have to really believe it. I think you have to really believe you're in that position. But people need to know you're not alone. That was one of the factors I didn't seek help, because I thought, well, I'm embarrassed. Like, they've never heard this problem before. They're going to think I'm weird. And then now looking back going, I'm far from the first, and I'm never going to be the last to have the issues I've had. But that's the main thing. You're not alone, and you're not the first person to be suffering it. There are professionals out there that deal with it every single day. They know how to help. The internet, for all its faults, is an amazing place to find aid, and that's why I started the It's Okay campaign.
Yeah.
It was originally it was solely as a bit of selfish therapy. I'm one of those people, I like to help people.
Yeah.
So if I could help one person, that's my job done. Now, I like anyone contacts the campaign, I give them as much advice. I work quite closely with people like the Shout Tech Service and a young person's version called The Mix. And we've got information for everyone and anyone, from drug addiction, alcohol addiction, to postnatal depression, anything you think you're struggling with, there's always avenues.
No, definitely, yeah. It's good to get help, and people know that the help's available. So obviously my help most probably came when I joined the gym. That is basically sort of self-help, really. My friend actually getting me into the gym, this RIP gym in Basildon, that changed my life. I've not looked back since I started, and it's most probably been the best thing for my mental health. I didn't realise going in that gym and training how good you feel once you come out, and that starts a great cycle of you wanting better for yourself. So obviously I know you train at the same gym.
Yeah.
How does the gym affect your well-being? Like, how does it play a part?
I think it's kind of a two-pronged thing, really. Like, you've got the training, the actual training, which is incredible for your mental health. Like, I've kind of, because of my addictive personality and I've had addictions, this has become my new addiction. I know I can manage it, and it's one of those manageable ones where you know what you're doing, how you can do it. It's not affecting your life. But I think it's not just the training, it's the people there as well.
Yeah.
I think the people you train with and the gym you go to. Like, I think
The atmosphere as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you've got people, not just the people that train, but the people that own the gym, work at the gym, that are willing to help you, willing to even they're the type of people that would sit down, and if you go, look, I'm struggling today.
Yeah.
I know I'm feeling a bit low and I don't really want to train. They're more than likely go, come on, let's have a sit down, let's have a coffee. That's the type of thing. Like, it's not for everyone. Like, I'm not going to say going to the gym is going to cure your addiction or cure your mental health. But for me and for you, it really does help.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been totally different. I mean, I could have turned up at the gym, and they could have looked at me and thought, look at the state of this guy coming in, he's got no chance, just about walking through, just about fitting through the turnstile when I walked in there. But he wasn't. Billy was on the desk there, and I said I wanted to join the gym. And he was, everyone was so friendly to me and welcomed me in, and I got that great vibe from them, which actually made me go back a second time. Because I feel like if I'd have gone in there and I'd have got, that treatment where you get sort of looked at and disgusted upon and all that sort of stuff, I would never have gone back. That played massive benefits to my mental health, and I still think now, I feel like if I don't train for a few days, I feel a little bit low. I feel like this sort of like my release, and my little bit of time to just sort of get in the zone and just do me time sort of thing, which makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely would say the gym is very good for my mental health, and I'm sure it affects a lot of other people's mental health if they just tried it. You know, them natural endorphins released, you just feel great. So
I think as well, like it saves going to the pub. Like I try and keep myself out of situations where I could be led astray or I could do something that could affect me and my mental health. And going to the gym, I'm not saying I don't go to the pub, because you go and socialise, but the people I go to the pub with, I go to the gym with. And so it's like being with your mates, but in a place where it's not going to affect my mental health. If you know you're going to be in places that's going to affect you, you stay away from those places.
So we're at the RIP gym now, as you can see. Do you fancy going to get a session in?
Go and do it.
Let's go and do it.